this is Annalese from Bits and Tokens.
And I'm Eric from the Blockchain Education Network.
And we're here at Coinvention in Philadelphia, and we're going to interview each other. Isn't that great? Yay! So Eric, tell me about the Blockchain Education Network.
Only if then you tell me about Bits and Tokens.
I sure will.
All right, so the Blockchain Education Network started in 2014, and we set up and maintain blockchain clubs at different universities. At this point, right, we're the largest and fastest growing and longest running blockchain network of students, alumni, and professors, because we've opened it up to professors and faculties in recent years. And we provide blockchain education. We give them resources, educational content, lesson plans for the teachers to help them better integrate blockchain into their curriculum. And we also give free conference tickets and flights and Airbnbs to fly to different conferences around the world.
I'm sorry, you give out free tickets, Airbnbs, and flights to fly to different conferences around the world?
Yeah, to different students. So these students, I believe that the most important thing, or at least the thing that has helped me the most, is being able to travel in this space.
Yeah.
Going to these conferences, meeting these people. That's how I got my first job out of college, which was a really great position at a blockchain company. So it's all right, how do we provide that opportunity for schools and for students at these schools? And it's really hard for them because they don't have any money, and it's also very scary for them to travel. So we're all right, let's take the pressure off. Let's get an Airbnb. For example, we got one at the North American Bitcoin Conference, and the students can sign up to stay at the Airbnb. They also get the free conference tickets, so that when they get down there, it's a lot easier. There's a lot less friction. Then they just get down there and then they work the showroom floor like everyone else. And you should see some of them because they're real go-getters. They will go and they will talk to every booth. They will listen to every speaker. They will come out of there with an internship or a co-founder for a startup. And they've it's definitely worth it to bring them out and to help enable them to travel that way.
Where were you a year or two ago when I was in school? Holy crap, that is so cool.
It's been running for 4 years. I was in school a year ago.
I wish I knew about that. That's crazy. I wish I had a fish. I'm just kidding.
Okay, but tell me then. So what have you been doing? Where did you go to school and what do you do now?
Ooh, okay, so a little bit about my background. So I actually went to school for health administration, absolutely nothing with what I do. I fell in love with the crypto space. Tim, actually, he's technically the CEO / also co-founder of Bits and Tokens. He's the one who taught me everything I know. So if I say something wrong, it's his fault, not mine. I promise. I'm just kidding. He hates me.
That's what my team says about me because I'm the CEO. So
yeah, it's Eric's fault.
It's always my fault. It's always their success. It's always my fault.
Yeah. No, that's just how it is. I feel like that's an ongoing joke. But so what happened was that because I was learning about cryptocurrency, what he wanted to do was teach me, and in addition to teaching me as I was being taught, he wanted me to teach other people. So I started making videos of me learning while on camera. So it's like we were learning together kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was a bipartisan agreement.
Yeah.
But anyways, so after that, we started going out to conferences. We started going out to neighborhoods, actually talking to people on the street about cryptocurrency. I went to my college campus and I was like, hey, do you guys know about crypto? Do you guys know about crypto? Started handing out crypto, showing people how to do wallets and things like that. And from there, we started actually branching out to other companies in the area, start providing them with services because we wanted to show more people who couldn't come out to these conferences because sometimes these tickets are really expensive and they can't afford them.
Yeah.
And then on top of the really expensive tickets, you have the flight. And then on top of the flight, you have, toward the place to stay, food, travel. There's a lot
visas
that comes into it.
for people outside of the U.S. And we covered visas for students.
Exactly.
That's just such a pain.
That's awesome. Visas, really?
Yeah. We had 5 students from Ben, India, which is our chapter in India, flew into the MIT Bitcoin Expo. And there's a whole thing. We had to use a connection in the government that we had to put the visa applications to put them through 2 weeks before the expo happened.
That is so cool.
They really enjoyed it. It was their first time in the U.S. And so, yeah. And then just in case, because it isn't just it's not nothing comes out of it, right? They go back and then they've started blockchain clubs at their schools.
Really?
Yeah.
Awesome.
So them being here was that inspiration, that motivation, that kick.
It was that push for them to see what's out there. And a lot of people need that motivation and they don't understand, right?
Right.
And that's how I feel what I do when I deliver content. Because let's be real, like I said, a lot of these tickets, like you can't afford them. Students can't afford them. People can't afford them. But there's a reason why they're priced like that. And it's to get the top guys in, which is what companies want. So, sorry, public, but we should really start pushing more things to the public sometimes, which is why I feel like more, I guess, public related and centered conferences, more consumer conferences. That would be better for like exchanges and things like that. But it would still be something where people can come out and experience, even on a lower level. I feel like even doing something that's fun for the public would attract people who are not even into crypto. So I feel like these are things that we kind of have to overcome. Like, I'm sure you've seen those nonprofits that like they throw like Gabapalooza and like all these like things for kids. Those are like people are paying for that, but like they write them off and they're nonprofits. I feel like we should have more of that in this space. You went to MIT. Why did you go to MIT actually?
Why?
Yeah.
Well, the reason why is really funny because when I was a kid, I liked computers, I liked Legos, I liked Arduinos, I messed around with
Did you
electronics.
build a computer out of your Legos?
No, I did not build a computer out of my Legos. I did get the Lego Mindstorms kit that lets you make
you lost school points. You lost school points. You didn't build a computer out of your Legos.
I mean, that'd be interesting.
You should have done that.
What, did you do that?
No, did I do that? Absolutely not. No, I've stepped on many Legos in my life. I've done that.
So I did all that, and then, but I was always made fun of a lot because it's like it wasn't cool to be a nerd. It's like you're a nerd. But it changed for me, right? Well, it changed for me when I watched the movie Iron Man that had just come out.
Iron Man,
2008, yeah. And I was like, I watched that movie and I'm like, whoa. I want to be like Iron Man.
I want to be this guy.
That's what I want to be.
That's cool.
Because I didn't know because apparently he was based off of Elon Musk, who was like kicking it around that time.
Yeah.
But I didn't have like tech role models. I don't know why I didn't like look them up. But so this ended up being like that pseudo role model of like, all right, this is the kind of person that I want to be, like CEO, entrepreneur type person. And then fast forward to high school, it's like, all right, time to go to school or time to go to college. Never really gave it much thought because like I went to a vocational school, so it was you were meant to like go and work afterwards, not to like go to college, right? So everyone kind of just went to the same colleges afterwards, and no one really like went that much higher. But I was like, all right, I want to be like Iron Man. So where did Iron Man go to school? Google it, say MIT, that's where Iron Man went to school. So I'm like, all right.
I'm going to go to MIT.
I'm going to go to MIT. I don't know what MIT is, but like I looked it up and it was like, wow, this is pretty cool. I want to go there. I tell my guidance counselor and she's like, so have you thought about where you want to go to college? I'm like, yeah, I want to go to MIT. And she's like, oh.
Not in your dreams, kid.
Okay, well, let's put that in the reach category.
Yo,
and then
tried it.
Yeah, and I got so mad that I was like, that's it, that's where I'm going. And like, I worked like hell on that application. Like, I just figured like, I had already taken the SATs, but I had to take them again to like up the scores. And I was able to up it to like the bare minimum, like that's like the minimum grade that's like required to like, be considered. The essay applications I worked forever on. I like thought really hard about my letter of recommendations. I actually got one letter of recommendation by reaching out to an astronaut. I knew my mother because this astronaut is Costa Rican. He's Franklin Chang.
Oh,
so he was the first.
Cool.
He was the first immigrant astronaut.
That's
in
so
space.
neat.
The first naturalized American in space.
Huh.
And he was Costa Rican, which is where I'm from.
Right.
And he was MIT.
Oh.
He went to MIT. So I messaged him, I'm like, I'm the next you. And can you help me out? And he wrote that letter. And I think it just shows, it's just like if you can hustle it, right?
Yeah.
Like, never like believe like when someone tells you that you can't do something.
Right.
Try to make it happen. And I think I also do have to become comfortable with myself with the fact that like if it didn't happen, I should still be okay with that. Right? Like I've fortunately got lucky because it did happen. But after being at MIT, I started working in the admissions office, while I was a student.
Okay.
So I was working in the admissions office, so I had to actually go through a lot of applications, and I saw a lot of people that were way more qualified than me, but got rejected. So it was always hard for me. It was difficult for me to reconcile that. It's like, how are all these super smart people getting rejected?
The guy who hasn't gotten anything lower than an A+ since the 5th grade kind of guy. That's crazy.
And me, I'm coming from B's and C's, and I wasn't valedictorian, right? These people are like, oh, I did this international math Olympiad.
International math Olympiad.
Yeah, and it's I've never heard of that. What is that? Yeah. But apparently it's a thing. It's that's just a common thing to have. I'm like, what? But
for MIT apparently.
Yeah, for MIT apparently. I never know. And it's a little toxic sometimes because sometimes people try to race each other to the bottom. Someone was like, one person was like, oh yeah, I self-studied for the AP French exam. And I'm like, oh, did you know French? He's like, no, I just like picked up the book for like a bit, like a week before. And I'm really upset with myself. And I'm like, why? And he's like, well, I got a 5. I'm like, that's the
highest
score. And he's like, yeah, but it was like a week 5. Like, I know I could have done better.
What is a week 5? You either got the 5 or you didn't.
Well, it's because with the APs, it's like you don't need a perfect score to get the highest, like the 5.
Right.
You can get like 80%.
Right. It's like a percentile.
Yeah, it's like 8, right? The percentile. But still, that was just so dumb.
If you got the 5, it's a 5. Like there's no like.
Yeah. But it's toxic. It's kind of toxic because it's like it makes you feel inferior. You feel like imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
Which I think is like similar to like how a lot of people feel in this space, because in this space you're dealing with some people that like have come from like non-tech backgrounds mixed in with some people that are like really like autistically smart. And I think it's interesting. It's an interesting background for me to have because I've seen like the whole imposter syndrome infect like an industry, and I've tried to like help remedy that the same way that you're doing it through like education and through letting people know that it's okay to be part of the conversation, right? We're all on a level playing field here. Like everyone here, like blockchain is like less than 10 years. It's 10 years old now, apparently, right? Because of the 2009 or 2008. So it's like, and it's so anti-disciplinary because like a lawyer, an artist, a politician, and a CS person could all contribute equally to the blockchain conversation. You know, as opposed to something like deep AI, like it's kind of difficult, like what people can contribute to that. So. I don't know if that answers why I went to MIT.
I don't know if that answers why. I think you gave me enough. So, since you're a techie, VR, AR, XR.
Yes. Yeah. I want to know about that from you.
From me.
Yeah,
okay.
from you.
So, first, what's your opinion on that? So before I go into it.
Well, I love it. I mean, I was doing virtual reality development before I was doing blockchain stuff.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So I got my first phone upgrade in like many years in college to the Samsung Gear the Samsung Galaxy S7, just so that I could get that headset when that first came out, the first mobile VR headset, and then the Oculus, right, when the Oculus came out. So I had those, and I learned how to do Unity development to like build games in VR, because I thought games in VR were like the most interesting things. I did an internship that was an urban planning startup, and we made like VR experiences for experiencing like houses and experiencing like urban planners who design like a park, and then you can take like a virtual walking tour of the park. So I thought of that as like a very real practical use case. I did see like the downsides of VR, that it's difficult to adopt, it's expensive. There's a lot of people get motion sickness, and people don't realize that you can get motion sickness. You know, maybe it's better now.
You used to get motion sickness?
Yeah, motion sickness from the VR headsets.
Really?
Yeah, a lot of people, it's a huge problem.
That seems strange.
Have you been in VR for like hours?
What's your
longest session?
Yes, I have been in VR for hours. I'm not branding anyone, but I've been playing this, specific game with sabers. I do like that game. So, I mean, I like VR in general. Have you heard of AltSpace?
Yes, AltSpace.
So we use AltSpace over at the Bits and Tokens team side, and we actually held a VR conference in AltSpace.
Oh, nice.
So Jerome, I'm sure you're familiar with Jerome. He's super gung-ho about anything that has to do with virtual reality, augmented reality, gaming. So what we did is we held a crypto conference for games in VR. And it's kind of something that like mixes those two spaces. Those are two very popular spaces, and usually if you're into like gaming, you're into VR.
Right.
That's typically the the switch off. So I mean, we got really positive feedback. We got companies like Engine, Tron,
nice.
CryptoKitties to come out. Engine gave out some NFTs, some stuff for their platform. It was really cool. It was really informative. I met a lot of different games on there, and it's different for people to not have to fly out to a conference, spend a bunch of money just to meet these people, talk to these people, understand what these people are doing. We did panels. It was really cool. And from there, what we started doing is actually building VR worlds for different companies. So for the eToro launch party, we built them a VR world.
Yep. I VR'd into that party.
Oh, did you?
Yeah,
That's cool.
Because I wanted to go, but it was like the day before, and I had like other things.
Oh,
yeah. It was like 10 p.m. and I was just seeing all the Instagram like stories, and I was getting so much FOMO. And then I saw the VR link, and I was like, all right, I'm going.
I'm going.
And I walked into my brother's room, and I'm like, hey, Brian, I'll be right back. I got to go to Miami. And I told my parents, I'm like, hey, I'll be right back. I got to go to Miami for a party. And they're like,
what?
What, Eric? Are you going to go to the airport and fly? I'm like, nope. I'm going to go use
VR sets. That's awesome. That's so funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. How did you like it?
It's cool. I mean, I liked it a lot. I mean, it was interesting being in that VR space and seeing other people and like the kind of the social tools that they have. Because that was actually my first time using Altspace.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I've seen videos of it. Right?
Yeah.
So like, it didn't take that long to get the hang of it. It was a little confusing with like the point and teleport kind of thing. I'm more used to like the kind of like joystick walking around. Like I've done like the Minecraft VR and the Fallout VR, and that's kind of how that's done. But that's the kind of stuff that causes the motion sickness that I was like talking about.
Okay.
Like that kind of like movement.
Okay.
So we still have to figure that out as an industry.
Yeah.
But the stationary stuff, those stationary experiences, I think like those are really, really catching on. I think people really enjoy those.
Interesting. Well, yeah. I mean, I like VR in general. What we do also do is we hold crypto meetups in VR on there. So that's another thing that has been taken off. But
so are you trying more and more to like bridge those two worlds together? Or are you comfortable like leaving them separate?
No, it's very important to bridge those two worlds together, especially, like I said, consumer costs. That's going to be something that will give people the opportunity of not, cause I mean, you know, they live stream conferences, right?
Yeah.
Well, let's say, my hair sucks. They live stream conferences, but let's say, you know, you didn't want to live stream a conference. Maybe it was going to cost whoever's running the conference XYZ amount of money, and you didn't want to live stream it. You didn't want to deal with the content. Instead of saying, hey, I'm not going to live stream it, sell a ticket for $20, live stream the whole thing for someone at home who couldn't come.
Yeah.
It's one, more business for you as a company. Two, you're giving people the experience of being there without having to be there.
Yeah.
There's people who are bedridden that want to come out to these things. A lot of those people in Altspace, which is actually very interesting. There was a guy I was talking to, he was singing, playing his guitar. I would have never guessed in 100 years that he didn't have legs. He lost both of his legs, can't walk. So for like people like that especially, it's very hard for them to just get around.
Right.
And I feel like that's really important for them to have the opportunity to, it is different. It's not like you're physically there. You can't physically touch anything, but to be in that space and then have other people who are attending this conference in the VR room with you, and you guys can talk amongst yourselves about, whatever topic. That's actually really cool. I've never been, fun fact about me, I discovered the internet 4 years ago. And yeah, I know, right? So, after seeing, what's about and what's out there, and just digging my toes in every crevice I can find of the, internet space, it's just, I don't know, I love it.
Yeah, I think it's interesting with the 2 points with that, with the VR. One, I'm starting to realize more and more that there's no disabilities in virtual reality.
No.
Because one, right, eyesight, right? You automatically see what your eye needs to see.
Right. You can adjust the...
You can adjust it, right? The prescription within the glass, within the headset. So that's already done. Then I thought about okay, well, walking, all right. VR, you have legs. There's people that on apps like Second Life, there's people that make money from Second Life.
Yeah.
They have disabilities in real
Yeah, our
right?
secretary actually makes money off secretary.
Oh, yeah. That's great.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah. I was just like, what on earth?
I know, it's interesting. I think it takes someone like that to understand the value of VR, right? And really gets it. And then you start thinking about all right, well, what about speaking different languages, right? In VR, if you make an app, I don't know if Altspace does this, but it's really interesting, especially as it starts getting into more international stuff. You can say something in Spanish and have something it auto translate, and the other person hears it in English.
That would be a cool feature. That's a cool feature.
Right? But then you extend it further, right? Because I was also thinking, all right, well, what about deaf people? In virtual reality, right? There's no need for sound because everything can be closed captioned.
Right.
That people will say automatically, right? And so it's interesting because as you can start chipping away at the disabilities and say really disabilities are only disabilities here in the meat world, in the meat space.
I mean, the only thing I guess would be the disabilities either A, if you really just can't see, period. That would be the only thing.
If you're if you're blind, right? That's the one I haven't thought of figured out what if you're blind, right? Maybe there's something you can do with sounds that help
sense
you
podcast,
recreate the world, right?
Yeah, just hearing. That would be the
just hearing.
Yeah.
That'd be interesting. The other point that I wanted to mention, I think the trend towards more like virtual conferences, right? Virtual hackathons, virtual meetups, I think is really interesting. You know, for us, we're banned, like we're global. And so it's always difficult whenever we want to throw like a conference. It's like, all right, where do we position the conference so that the most amount of people can like attend? And I always feel bad because if we choose New York or San Francisco or if we choose Europe, right, then that only the, you know, not everyone gets to go to them, right? And so we've started doing more virtual sessions, started doing virtual roundtables, right, virtual Skype calls with our club leaders, with our teachers, with our professors, with our students. And we've had students tune in from all over the world into the same call. And like we had like easily like 30, 40 club leaders from like, I think the last one we had like 8 different countries. We had students tune in from Australia, from China, from India, from the US, from Canada, from Colombia, all on one call. And you know, the poor China students, they're the ones that had to bite the bullet. And for them, it was they had to do it at 3 a.m. Because it's hard to find a time because the time zone's stuff. So really the only solution to that is just to do them multiple times and to switch up the times. But it's difficult. Globalization is like where we are as a space. I mean, as a society. Like everyone's working remotely now, which is interesting, and we're doing more virtual stuff, which comes with these new challenges, like the language barriers, the cultural barriers, broadband connections. I was thinking about that for like the VR conferences, right? Like what about people that want to attend, but you know they don't have a very good internet connection? And that's another form of like, could be poverty, or it could be like just socioeconomically disadvantaged people. How do we deliver education to them?
Yeah, I mean, so that's a 50-50 battle. One, because it's more of an infrastructure issue at that rate, you know, because I mean, kudos to Google for doing the Google balloon and dropping Wi-Fi over some places. Akon in Africa building up communities with cryptocurrency and blockchain. I mean, there's people who are doing their part, but honestly, what needs to happen is countries need to be pushed forward. And instead of taking people out of those countries and moving them to better countries, which is actually happening, because people leave their home countries to find better futures. That's why people, you know, they're immigrants, they emigrate, you know? So.
But also, I mean.
Well, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, people do immigrate, but I do feel like immigrants usually feel a very, unless they like their entire family left, or unless they're like refugees.
A lot of them don't go back. A lot of the people that I've talked to, like, I mean, they'll send money home,
money back, right?
But it's not that you're sending money to like one person, right? You're sending money to your grandmother or your mother. You're not building a community. That's the problem.
That's true.
Okay, like for you to give an individual wealth is one thing. For you to create opportunities is another. That's what we're lacking. We're lacking people who are creating opportunities in those countries to build up those countries, build up that infrastructure, and then have, you know, education implemented in those places to progress the world as a whole. That's the issue.
Yeah, I think we need more of that. I think we need more champions that want to go back, and then we just give them like the resources to do that.
Well, it's been fun chatting with Erick, chatting with Anna.
Is it like half hour?
I don't know. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in. My name's Anna.
And my name's Erick.
Thanks for tuning in from Coinvention in Philly.